Today we'll be talking about a whistleblower who was shown off-world technology. The whistleblower's name is Randy Anderson. He was a Green Beret in the U.S. Army Special Forces. He had access to many restricted military sites, including Area 51, which many of us are familiar with, and Crane, which is a naval surface warfare center in Indiana. They can provide technical support there for sensors, electronics, electronic warfare, special warfare weapons. So Randy Anderson, he was a fireman for about 20 years in the city of Las Vegas, and shortly after 9/11, he wanted to do something more to serve his country, and he joined the military. He was in the military for about 12 years, and during this time, a random event happened during a training session. He said that he was in a training program that allowed him and one other Green Beret to get access to a specific facility. He spoke about being at a training course at Crane, where they go over SOCOM weapon systems, handguns, rifles. Weapons specialists go through this just to get another level of training. And there's a lot of foreign weapons technology there as well. They asked him and another Green Beret to stay behind after the training session. He says till this day he doesn't know why he was shown what he was shown. He said that many times they'll be tested in the service to see how they'll react mentally to different situations, and he thought maybe this could be a test. So they were taken into an elevator and went down for a specific number of floors and exited into a hallway. He said the vibe felt strange, but he was just following orders and went along with these men. He said he found out later that these men that brought them to the room were private contractors, but not part of Crane. So I'm not sure exactly who these men are. He said they went through a significant security checkpoint, which he equated to going into a skiff. Everything's put into a lockbox, electronics, jewelry, anything that could possibly carry some kind of information. The next part of the facility was a foreign weapons area. It was a small warehouse room, and they were shown a few things there by these two men, and they were asked a couple of questions, very nonchalant. Randy stated that in the next part of the facility that the men's mood seemed to change and become a bit more serious, and he found it odd because they went through one big security checkpoint, and now they were going through a second security checkpoint. After this checkpoint, they entered this room, and he said when he entered the room, there was a placard on the wall that said Off-World Technology Division. And he said when he saw Off-World Technology Division written on this placard, he thought that at this point, okay, I'm being messed with. Me and this other guy, this other Green Beret are being messed with. They're clearly testing us and trying to see mentally how we'll handle seeing something strange or odd. Many times in the service, he said Green Berets would be tested mentally for different reasons to see if they'd be capable of going on particular missions. He said the room was maybe 30 feet long, 20 feet wide. There were 2 cubicles in the room, and each cubicle had an object in them. The first cubicle had sort of a podium with an object hovering above it. He said it was a pearlescent, metallic-looking sphere the size of a basketball, which this reminded me so much of the boogosphere that we discussed in the previous 2 videos. He said he'd never seen anything like it before, but he tried to keep his composure and act cool because, again, he thought he was being evaluated or screened for something else in the service. And one of the men mentioned that they had the sphere there since a crash in the 1940s, and that it was some kind of control mechanism. He said the energy of the room was uncomfortable, it was kind of ominous. He said it just had a bad vibe, like when something bad is about to happen, He said nothing bad actually happened, but there was just a strange energy to the room. So the other cubicle had another object. It was on a black table about 3 feet off the ground, a rectangular type object. He said it was difficult to describe, but it had an opening on the right side of the object, like you could possibly stick your arm inside of it and grab it to pick it up. On top, it had some kind of a screen. He said the two men were just talking amongst themselves about the object, and it almost seemed like it was set up, that they were just kind of purposely putting this information out there for the two men to hear. The men said that they recovered this object as well from the same craft, and that at the time it was being removed from the craft, it discharged some kind of energy, and it injured someone when they were recovering it. It's unclear if whoever it was that removed it from the craft was killed or if they were just injured. But there was some kind of discharged energy from this object. Then he said it looked like there was a heat wave coming off of it. Kind of when you see the heat coming off of the concrete in the summer, the waves kind of. He said that was the kind of look on the top of the object. And he looked between him and the other Green Beret and the two men, and no one seemed to kind of notice the heat or say anything about it. He said he then saw some symbols appear above where the screen was on top of the object. And it was inky black looking symbols. He said the symbols would kind of phase in and out, like alternating back and forth. The Green Berets were asked if they found anything odd about the object, but Randy didn't tell them that he saw symbols because no one else seemed to see anything. He didn't want to be called crazy. He thought he was kind of being tested to see how he mentally handled a situation. He said it felt like the device was communicating in some way with him because from his vantage point, he could see the symbols perfectly clear. But again, he looked between the other Green Beret and the two men, and they didn't seem to notice anything strange. No one mentioned symbols. No one mentioned the heat coming off of the object. He thought that he was going to get debriefed after leaving this space at some point, but he never did. He said that these men appeared to wonder if anyone had a reaction to this object, and that he did, but he just didn't tell them about it. Randy also stated that he has very good recall. He was also a sniper. His memory about incidents are very clear to recall about many things he did during his time in the service, but for some reason this circumstance is very difficult to recall. He has to think really hard to get simple details back about being in that room, and maybe his memories were purposefully repressed somehow. Randy did decide to do regression hypnosis to get some of his memories back, and this is everything that he stated about the objects. He said that the symbols, the inky black symbols that were on the rectangular object, were a language from Orion, and that there's a family type connection to this, a history, that he spent many lifetimes in that area with the Orion group fighting in some kind of galactic war, and he was a warrior for that group, which I know sounds crazy, but keep an open mind. He said, under regression, the DNA causes a reaction to the device. Your DNA encodes all of your lifetimes. It's a record. The technology was reacting to his DNA when he was there, which is why he could see the symbols. The device was powering on. It was a defensive weapon. It connects to you consciously, and you control the output of the weapon. This is not the first time that we've heard about consciously connected technologies. So the military wants to use the technology, but it appears to only react to particular DNA to activate it. I've heard many stories over the years now about black sites bringing in buses of children, and their only purpose for being there was they would bring the children into a big warehouse and put them in front of all this off-world technology to see if the children would have some kind of a reaction to it, and then they would be put back on these buses and sent somewhere else. It's unclear where the children were coming from, who they were. It was just buses of children they would bring in to test them with these objects. And this is stories going back more so in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Now it may be a little bit different. It makes you wonder about all the ancestry DNA testing that was being pushed for so many years. They made it sound fun on TV and know about your history, and it became kind of a trend. But now you hear about Chinese businesses that bought some of the ancestry companies and obtained people's DNA and trying to create biological weapons to target particular people. So what if these companies were also collecting DNA information in order to find particular people that could possibly integrate with this off-world technology? Or once they found the DNA that they needed, maybe they're using that DNA to create their own children or clones that could operate the technology. If you've done your research, you already are aware that cloning has already been done. They also made artificial wombs many, many years ago. The most basic version was publicized years ago when they made an artificial womb for a baby lamb. And now you hear them discussing about artificial wombs to help premature babies survive outside of the mother's womb. There's plenty of this talk going on and plenty of technology that's already been made if you just take a minute to look into it. And the human race, we already have consciousness connected technology, where you can play games with your mind. And due to the mind reacting faster than the body, to me, it would be better to have a consciously connected weapon system than to have a person physically firing a weapon. Imagine when you're playing a video game like Call of Duty, and your mind will see the target, but you'll get taken out before you can shoot your opponent. With the consciousness connected technology, which they've already tested, you can see your target, and your mind reacts, and the target is just immediately eliminated without having to raise a finger. The second your eyes spot your opponent, your mind reacts and the target's eliminated. It's kind of terrifying to think about weaponry being created like this with some kind of AI. If this were to ever go Terminator style, I don't think the technology would miss if it was shooting at us, which is terrifying. But I'm so glad that more whistleblowers keep coming forward like Randy. It's taking the stigma off of it. I'm glad that Congress is now starting to be briefed on certain things, though there's tons of stuff that's still being blocked from them, which is annoying. I'm going to try to not go on a tangent about that. So I'm thankful for whistleblowers like Randy that continue to come forward. More and more are still coming forward. Dr. Greer is still giving updates, though this process is painfully slow since they keep trying to block the progress for all of this disclosure. I'll keep you updated on all of those things as soon as I get the information when it comes in. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you have any information on the ancestry DNA, any of the consciousness connected technologies. I'd be interested to hear your opinions. So until next time, follow your intuition as always. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon.